Hello and welcome to another edition of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Connecting with the Community. My name is Napoleon Bell and I'll be your host. And on this edition, we'll be speaking about the crisis intervention teams and the training that they have to go through.
When I got out of the military, I saw that brotherhood again, that pride. In the sheriff's office, there's no greater uniform out there.
It's a great honor to put this uniform on every day. I wear it with pride.
You won't find a career that's more challenging, that's more rewarding.
Well, we're in the studio here with Sergeant Rennie of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. She works in corrections, but you know, as I spoke about early on in the top of the show, that we're going to be talking about the crisis intervention teams. That you personally are doing much of the training there in corrections. But I want to back up though a little bit first of all, because so often we have people on the program, but you never really get to know who they are and are doing the job. So let me ask you this, you know, when did you come on with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office?
Well, I have been employed with the Sheriff's Office for about 18 years now. And I happened to see, I was a young girl, 23 years old, and started school for nursing. And I happened to see this wonderful commercial come on by the Sheriff's Office. It says, Franklin County wants you. So I saw that commercial pop up and I saw, you know, an opportunity for me to move into a different directions. I always wanted to help people, and I think that's why I started in the nursing field. But I decided I'm going to give this a whirl. So I did, and 18 years later, I'm still there. Still
here. So from nursing to helping people who have been injured or whatever it might be, to the corrections. So that public service, it sounds like, working with people is what's drawing you into the corrections.
Absolutely.
Now, do you ever look back and go, wow, you know, I wish I would have became a nurse, you know, I could have been getting off at the same time or whatever, you know. Do you ever think back, or maybe it's something that you might still do?
No, you know, I thoroughly enjoy the work that we do here, and I think we've been wonderfully blessed with such a wonderful department, and I'm very happy with what I do.
Well, very good. Well, and you've moved up in the ranks, so you're a sergeant now.
That's right.
So we could be calling you in a matter of, you know, so many years. Say, hey, Sheriff. You know,
well,
you never know.
Maybe you never know, right?
You never know.
That's what all this training does. It gets you moving.
Exactly right. Well, great thing. Well, we're glad to have you here on the program to really talk about the crisis intervention team, and you're doing this training. But for those who this might be the first time for them hearing about this, what exactly is the crisis intervention team? What is it supposed to do, and when did it all start?
Well, the original crisis intervention training team, it started in 1988, and it came out of Memphis. They were having a lot of trouble there, and they decided to bring together police, emergency personnel, and the community to find more appropriate ways to deal with the mental health crisis that we have going on. With the closing of the state institutions, it has been that jails are the largest actual holders of mental health inmates. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So the state institutions closed down, and there was no place for people to really work with these people with mental health issues.
Right. So they're out committing low-level crimes, maybe criminal trespassing, things that are very low misdemeanor crimes, and they find themselves into the jail. And so we find out that basically 1 in 4 people, and I'm not just saying inmates, 1 in 4 people will have some sort of mental health crisis in their life. And that says a lot. You look around and you have 4 people sitting in this room, so you don't know, who may have been affected by a mental health crisis in their life.
Right, and then you take that and maybe commit some low-level crime, what have you. Now you're in a system which potentially you might not be getting that mental health, those needs, those resources that you need in a corrections institution.
Right, and that's why the Sheriff's Office saw such a need to bring this program to us. I want to start by saying we offer to all of our corrections deputies, it's mandatory that we teach them a basic 8-hour mental health first aid course. And that's just a basic course. It's not made to make our deputies mental health diagnosers by any chance, but basically what that does is it gives them an awareness. It opens their eyes to things that they might just have seen before as uncooperative behavior, people not listening to the laws and the rules that they're giving. So it gives them that eye opener. And mental health first aid also brought the eye-opening experience to our deputies as well, because like I said, 1 in 4 people suffer from mental health crisis. So we teach them self-care should they be personally experiencing this in their families or with something they're going through as well.
That's very good to know, because all too often, and even with law enforcement that's out on the street, deal with some mental health issues in regards to stress and all of that, and to make sure that they're okay. And so the same thing would apply then for those in corrections that are working with inmates directly.
Yes, absolutely. And these guys are arrested on the street and they're brought to be with us in corrections, and how long they stay, we don't know. But we do know that the average stay for a person that has a mental health disorder is approximately 10 to 12 days longer than your normal citizen that would come in. And that's because things happen, such as they could be uncooperative, or they could be declining rapidly because they're not on their medications or whatever, and they may not make it to court timely. So things get drawn out a little longer, and that's why we're teaching our deputies to call awareness to it and be vigilant when these people are coming into our facility, so that we can get the problem addressed a lot quicker.
Right. So you're talking about that was the first aid piece, and then going on, it evolves into this more
to the
broader
crisis
training.
Absolutely, to the crisis intervention training, and that's a 40-hour training course. So we take this training and we make it our own. We are blessed with the fact that Major Turner, he went to school, and he was at the John Glenn School, and he heard about this CIT training. Well, he came back and he was very excited about it, and he took it to our Chief Stobart, who then took it to the National Institute of Corrections. The National Institute of Corrections then came to the Franklin County Sheriff's Office to bring, in 2015, the first CIT class. And so once that class was taught to us, from that, we made it our own program. They taught us how to take this and make it, our own. So now you're looking at, you've got a steering committee, which was created. So we've got the Chief Deputy of Corrections on there, the facility commanders at each jail. We have the Adam H. board, the NAMI board, and then we have for the training academy that we have. So one of their commanders is on the board, as well as the facility CIT coordinators, which is myself for the main jail, and Sergeant Beaudry for CC2. And then you have a representative from the courts. So we have a whole team of people working together to bring resolve and awareness to mental health.
Yeah, well, that's pretty incredible, because it's a comprehensive look at addressing mental health inmates that have come into corrections, and how do we best serve them.
That's right.
So what do you see? You said there's a good amount of inmates that come in, but also how many deputies do you have CIT trained now?
So right now we have 124 deputies trained. That's within Franklin County Corrections. And then we have Delaware County also, and Pickaway County, as well as ODRC, that send people to train. So we have 22 of those people trained as well. So we are actively running courses. We try to do 3 per year, and those courses are taught to those who volunteer. So I said mental health first aid was for those. All of the deputies in corrections, they don't get a choice to whether they attend that or not. But CIT is for those who choose, because we know that not everyone's made to be a CIT officer. It has to be something you're passionate about. And we want those people to be on the team that responds first in handling any sort of crisis.
So for example, like if you're in the jails and there's a crisis. So one of these officers or deputies will be called.
Yes.
To address the issue.
Yes. So we have supervisors and deputies trained on all 3 shifts at each jail. So when a crisis does occur, or someone from someone's past behavior, someone coming in, we will respond first. Yes, and attempt to gain resolve if we can with our CIT knowledge.
All right. So that's a good thing. Now, do you see that, because I know that we have coming up on our second segment, an actual deputy who's in corrections who is using that and has used CIT, the training. Do you think that eventually we'll have, maybe all the deputies trained in CIT?
Well, that's our goal. We would love for everyone to be trained, but at this point, like I said, I don't think it's reasonable to say that everyone's cut out to be a CIT officer. So and that's why we say we want those passionate about it to continue on, because they're going to deal best with the inmates that are suffering from the crisis. But I want to give a disclaimer on that. All of our deputies are taught how to work with and how to speak to others, and offer resolve. It doesn't just mean that only CIT officers are the only ones that are good. Yeah, so.
Right. Well, and I'm going to bring that up with the deputy who's going to be coming on in the second segment about how you were able to deal with, because I often, when talking to people on the street and they ask, in recruiting we talk about coming into corrections and what have you, and the question is, well, do I get to carry a gun? Do I get to carry a billy club or something? I'm in the jails without anything, and the thing is that you have to be able to talk or articulate, and so that's going to be an interesting conversation in our second segment. But that is something that I see that in corrections, that you have to have that skill set to be able to do that. I
think that you absolutely have to have that skill set, yes. So we pride ourselves in being able to de-escalate a situation with what we call verbal judo. So we pride ourselves.
So it's not this.
No.
It's this.
Yes, it's listening. And I think that one thing that we find is that you never know who's going to walk into jail. It could be anyone. And you would want them to be treated the same way you'd want your mother, father, brother, sister, or loved one to be treated. And so we pride ourselves on, talking to people as their human beings, not as their inmates, but as they're human beings.
Right.
So everybody could be having a very bad day when they walk inside our doors. It's probably not the best day they've ever had.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, that's probably one of the worst days. So, with all this training, and do you see potentially that there's going to be, I won't say a refresher training, but do you see this type of crisis intervention training getting wider, or getting?
I absolutely
do. You see what they're going to add on to it?
I do, and we went last year to the American Jail Association conference, and we'll be going again, and we bring our program and teach it to others who are just gasping for this program in their department. So absolutely, this program is done wonders. It's cut down on use of force. It's been a wonderful program within Franklin County, and most recently National Institute of Corrections came and saw our program, and they were very pleased with our program. So I believe nothing but future goodness is going to come.
Right. Yeah. Well, it sounds like a model. You might be the model program, and start teaching around the state, around the country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to make it on the program.
Thank you.
Now, our viewing audience now knows a little more about crisis intervention teams and training, but also that if you're thinking about becoming a nurse, don't do it. Come over to corrections.
That's right. We want you. Franklin County wants you.
All right. Well, Franklin County wants you. So, and we want you also. Come on over. So thank you so much once again, Sergeant, for being on the program, and we will be right back with our second segment, talking about those who are in the trenches using their crisis intervention training. Welcome back to the program. If you just joined us, my name is Napoleon Bell, and I am the host of the program here with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, connecting with the community. As I talked about in the first segment, this second segment, we're talking about crisis intervention teams and the training, but we're going to be speaking with a deputy who is actually in the trenches using his training to make a difference. And so we have Deputy Stischok, right?
Yes, sir.
I was hoping I didn't get that wrong. I didn't
It's
want
a tough one.
All right. Well, very good. Well, Deputy Stischok, you're in corrections.
Yes, sir.
And so let me ask you this first of all, because as I talked with the sergeant, we would like to know about who the person is that we're talking to, and that is just not a man behind the badge, but who you are and kind of where you come from. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been on the department, and how long you've been in law enforcement, and what brought you to law enforcement.
Well, I've been in corrections for 4 years now, just over 4 years. I've spent 20 years prior to that with a small department, town I grew up in, and then most of my time was with the Highway Patrol. So I've spent 24 years doing this. Been around a little while. And really I got into it when I lived in a small town. I had some friends that was in it, and kind of just wanted to give back to the community. Was really what it was about for me.
Right, right. Well, you know, I think I had joined the Columbus Division of Police around that same time, but the show Cops had just come on, you know, and so that was kind of an impetus, along with my friends getting on the department. But so I was wondering, did you watch Cops too during that?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
All right.
You get those small, you know, parts of the glory, the kicking indoors.
Right.
But, it's really about just helping others and helping.
Well,
the
exactly
community.
right. Exactly, and just like with the sergeants, public service.
Right.
You know, working with people, and so and in corrections, you get it up close. You know, and working with those who have made some bad decisions, but hopefully getting them turned to a more positive direction. And so in doing that, you know, we're talking about the crisis intervention teams and the training that you have to go through, because you're working with so many mentally ill or those with mental health issues in corrections. And so how do you see, as a practical piece, taking that training and then applying that in corrections and what you have been working with in there?
With the training, I mean, you deal with the same people when you work out on the street, but you only have them for a short time. Inside the jail, you may have them for a year or more, so you're dealing with them day in, day out. So the training really comes into play, you know, just to kind of help those people along the process. And like I say, with the mental health issues that come in, the facilities that have closed around town, you know, we're seeing more and more mental health patients come in the facility. It's nice to be able to recognize that, those types of behaviors, be able to kind of see those behaviors, build a rapport with them, and get them through the process. You know, I can't imagine what it's like to have the voices in your head, or you know, hear those auditory distractions. So it's nice to be able to see those behaviors, deal with them right up front, get them through the process, you know, get them to do the things that we need to do on a day-to-day.
Well, you know, something that you just said really struck me, and I never thought about it this way, was that the officer on the street only sees them for that moment. But in corrections, you'll see them for that moment for 6 months, potentially up to a year or longer. And so then it seems like you're actually, especially for those who have mental health issues, having to build this rapport and relationship with them, because they're going to be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day. How do you continue to, I guess, almost do that every day? You know, that you know, and you know, those you might make progress with, and those you might not.
Right.
How do you?
And there's a lot of times that, you know, it's not a magic answer. You know, it doesn't work all the time. It builds on the skills that we all have as police officers. We all know how to talk to people. We all know how to listen. But again, it's just giving you that opportunity to slow down a little bit and try to build that rapport with these people. Again, like, you know, you could be in there for 6 months, a year. So you're dealing with people that, you know, come back from court that have been sentenced. That's a crisis in their eyes.
Right,
So,
right.
You know, depression, everybody, you know, there's, you know, I think it is, like, say, 1 in 4 people have some type of mental health disorder. So it really is great training, I think. It's just, it allows you to see those different aspects, take a step back, slow down a little bit, and help the people.
Well, let me ask you this, and you just spoke on that, is that when someone's sentenced, and they could be sentenced for quite a long time, and then you're receiving them back in corrections, and what potentially could be going through their mind at that time, how do you work with that person? Is there any way to, I don't know whether it's to console this person because they might be spending 2 years or longer, or whatever it might be, behind bars? How do you relate to someone to try to help them through this and the realization that you're not getting out anytime soon.
Again, I think it's all just really just sitting back and listening.
Being that person.
That's the you know, being able to show some empathy, some understanding. You know, we didn't put them there. We're not there. We, you know, so it's a fine line. Like I say, it's just it's really just sitting back and listening and trying to build a rapport, offering some things that, you know, whether it's a phone call or mental health doctors, and then sticking to it. You know, a lot of times, you know, like I say, I've been in it for 24 years, so we're good for saying one thing and, hey, you know, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we forget. And a lot of our mental health patients, to build that rapport, you have to stick to it. If you're going to tell
forget,
them,
right?
you stick to it. And I think that's a lot of it. You know, we've had some guys, you know, that they'll see the CIT badges, and they'll want to talk to that person because they know they've been trained, they understand, you know, how to kind of help their situation out a little bit.
Right. So it's kind of like you're the doctor in a sense. It's like, hey, go to him. He's him or her. They've got
a lot
that
of times
doctor
they do.
experience.
They do kind of seek out the CIT trained officers. I've had a couple different ones, cases where, you know, I've just been walking the ranges where they'll see the badge, so they want to talk to you. They're having some issues. They're having some, you know, suicidal thoughts or just depression in general. So it's, you know, they do seek out somebody that they think that can help them.
Yeah. Now, what do you do? I mean, so if someone's having suicidal thoughts, or you know they're massively depressed, what do you have to do? I mean, is there do you notify the nurse or what happens?
Right. We have a certain protocol in place that, and again, we'll sit and talk with them, kind of see where they're at. We'll notify our nursing staff. We have mental health staff on standby all the time. So we get everybody into play, you know, just to make sure that we can keep all of our inmates safe. I mean, that's our job, is carrying custody. So, you know, we just, and like I say, it all goes back to just listening and just building that rapport.
Right. Right. Communicating with them as if, you know, you're communicating with a family member. You know, sometimes it could be a family member.
It could be.
I'm sure that's happened before also.
Yeah, friends and family. I mean, you just never know who's going to walk through the door. So.
Right. Well, very good. Well, have you? Can you think of any instance that, you know, that there was a crisis situation or some situation in general that you've had to deal with, and you look back and you go, I'm glad I had that training to be able to address that issue, and for it to come out in a positive way.
I kind of touched a little bit on it. Was with when I was walking the range, and it was a I want to say he was a prior military, and he saw the badge, and he stopped me. And there was other people that was walking the range that day that I was working with, but he stopped. He wanted to talk to me, and I think it was just because he knew I would listen, that I had some kind of understanding of maybe what he was going through. I was able just to talk with him for, you know, several minutes, kind of get him to relax a little bit, sit back, make a phone call later. So again, that's one of them. I mean, it's day to day. I mean, it's just, there's so many cases that I think we really don't even realize that we're doing it. You know, instead of just being quick to action, kind of just stepping back and, like I say, talking, listening, picking up those clues on different things.
So it's almost like it's second nature. So you've been trained in it. So when people talk about you revert back to training, the training is you.
It really is, and that's why it's even tough for me, like I say, to think of a specific incident, because it really we use it every day.
Right.
And I think if you're doing it right, that's the way it should be.
Right.
So it should just be instinct. So.
Well, apparently the training has become instinct.
Yes.
In you and so many others, and you talked about, and I think we talked about this on the first segment, but just do you see we see it expanding But do you want more, I don't know, officers, or do you want more deputies to be also to get CIT trained, or do you see, or let me ask you this, let me just back up a moment. Since you've been doing it, would you want to go out and do training also? Because to get others to have the same skill set and same passion for the work that you're doing.
And actually, I've been afforded the opportunity to help Sergeant Rennie, Sergeant Beaudry, facilitate some of the training. So it is nice. I would like to see more people do it. I've always been a believer that any training you get, you can find some kind of positive in. I've always been one to take any training that was out there because, again, you can find. It's always good to learn. There's always a positive. So I enjoy helping facilitate some of the trainings that we have, and I'd like to see it department wide. Again, not everybody is really cut out for it.
But maybe somebody can pick up on just that little piece. Maybe they might not, be good, but if you look at even deputies on the street and other departments, I know it can't be hurtful.
No.
So only be helpful.
Right. And like I say, it just expands on what we already do.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking and listening. So.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you're doing a fantastic job in corrections and have a long career, but hopefully that you can continue doing that and imparting that knowledge of the crisis intervention teams and the training to really continue to make a difference so that those who are going into corrections get the proper help in that ear to be able to be there for them. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
There are Deputy Stischok.
Stischok.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
I got it right. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for our viewing audience for being here. It's been a great program, an informative program. And if you want to get more information on the crisis intervention teams and units that are out there, just give our office a call or check us out on the website. Wow, a lot of great information came out of the program. I'd like to thank Sergeant Rennie and also Deputy Stischok on the information that they gave to us in regards to the crisis intervention teams and the training that's involved in that. I'd like to thank the partnership of the Ohio Media School and also Linda Wade for trying to touch up my mug on trying to make me look decent here on the program. And also be sure to check us out on CTV Channel 3 and also Channel 99 on AT&T UVerse, but also all of our social media websites, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office web, along with the Facebook pages. So have a great week and take care.